Hello, welcome to the part 6 video of the unit solutions of 12th standard chemistry unit. In my previous video I have discussed about the colligative properties, and out of all the colligative properties we have seen what is relative lowering of vapor pressure. In this video I am going to discuss about another 3 colligative properties. The second property, elevation of boiling point. Elevation of boiling point is indicated as delta TB. Here first we must understand what is boiling point of a solvent or boiling point of a liquid. Boiling point is defined as the temperature. It is the temperature at which vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. We have already understood what is vapor pressure. There is a pressure exerted by the saturated vapors of a liquid on its own surface at a given condition of temperature and pressure. That is vapor pressure. There is another pressure also acting on the surface of each and every matter on this earth, and that pressure will be called atmospheric pressure. So there is a constant atmospheric pressure in a setup of laboratory, let us assume. So there is 1 atmosphere of atmospheric pressure. 1 atmosphere is also a unit of pressure. So 1 atmosphere atmospheric pressure is there in the laboratory, and then I have got a solvent at 25 degrees centigrade. At 25 degrees centigrade, let us assume the vapor pressure of this solvent is 0.2 atmosphere. Now, if I slowly increase the temperature of solvent from 25 to 50, evaporation increases. As the evaporation increases, even the vapor pressure increases. Let us say 0.2 has increased to 0.5 atmosphere. Further, if I increase temperature from 50 to 75 degrees centigrade, definitely there will be increase in the vapor pressure also. 0.5 would now increase to 0.8. I have just given the approximation values. They are not exact actually. This is some solvent. Roughly I have chosen some solvent and I am just giving example here. At 25.2, at 50.5, at 75.8, and at 100 degrees centigrade, that has become equal to 1 atmosphere, which is actually atmospheric pressure. Now, this temperature 100 degrees centigrade can be called as boiling point of that solvent. Okay, so boiling point is that temperature at which the vapor pressure of that liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. So this is the definition given here. We know in our lower grades, lower classes, we have seen that boiling point is the temperature at which liquid is converted into a vapor state. The same thing is precisely explained like this. The temperature at which vapor pressure becomes equal to atmospheric pressure, that temperature is called boiling point. Now, our point is elevation of boiling point. Elevation means increase. We know this word. Elevation means increase of boiling point. Imagine I have taken a solvent here whose boiling point is TB naught, just like that. Okay, solvent has a boiling point TB naught, to which if I add a slight small amount of solute, let us say solid solute, if that is mixed with the solvent, what happens to the vapor pressure? As usual, as we have seen in the previous cases, when you add a solute into a pure solvent, its vapor pressure gets reduced. Vapor pressure reduces because of presence of solute particles in the medium. They do not allow molecules to escape easily. So what happens? The vapor pressure decreases. When the vapor pressure is decreased, boiling point increases. So boiling point and vapor pressure are inversely proportional to each other. This relation we know very well. So when there is a decrease in vapor pressure, definitely there will be increase in the boiling point. So now the solution will have the boiling point TB, which can be said like this. TB naught is less than TB. There is an increase in the boiling point, and we call this as elevation of boiling point, indicated as delta TB, given as TB minus TB naught. TB minus TB naught is the elevation of boiling point. So let us define what is elevation of boiling point once. Very simple thing. It is the increase of boiling point of a solvent. Increase of boiling point of a solvent due to the addition of a non-volatile solute. That phenomena is called elevation of boiling point, delta TB. Now we will see how this is explained in graphical representation. How is it explained using graph? We will see now. Now have a look at this graphical representation which indicates elevation of boiling point. Here we have chosen vapor pressure along y-axis, temperature along x-axis. Since this is vapor pressure axis, at some point there is a fixed pressure value which is called atmospheric pressure. So this is a constant atmospheric pressure line. Now when I take pure solvent, its vapor pressure will be greater than solution. So here this blue line indicates the vapor pressure curve of pure solvent, and this red line or red curve indicates the vapor pressure curve of solution, where we have already added solute into that. So pure solvent will have a higher vapor pressure, therefore the curve is above, and solution will have lower vapor pressure, so the curve is below. Now you can see as the temperature is increased, there is an increase in the vapor pressure exponentially like this, and it has reached the value of atmospheric pressure at a certain temperature. So this is the temperature at which the solvent has reached atmospheric pressure. Vapor pressure has become equal to atmospheric pressure at this temperature, and we call it as TB naught. TB naught is the boiling point of pure solvent. Okay. What happens when we dissolve solute in that? There will be decrease in the vapor pressure. When there is a decrease in the vapor pressure, it has to have extra effort in reaching the atmospheric pressure. And the temperature at which the curve reaches atmospheric pressure indicates the boiling point of solution, TB. So you can see on the temperature axis there is an elevation. So this increase of boiling point, the increase of boiling point is given as delta TB, and we call it as elevation of boiling point. And that elevation of boiling point depends upon how much solute you have dissolved in the solvent. Therefore, delta TB will be directly proportional to the molality of solution. Delta TB is proportional to M. M is molality, which is a unit of concentration. And then if I simplify this expression, I would get delta TB equals capital KB into M. This is an equation representing elevation of boiling point, where this KB is called ebullioscopic constant. Ebullioscopic constant. Okay, it is also known as molar elevation constant. KB is also known as molar elevation constant. And if I substitute the value of molality, we know the formula to calculate molality. It is there in video 1. You may refer it once again. Delta TB becomes equal to KB into W2 into 1000. These are the standard symbols we have seen earlier. M2 into W1. 2 represents solute, 1 represents solvent. So this is an expression which not only gives you idea how to calculate elevation of boiling point, but also can be used to find out molar mass or molecular mass of solute. And also this expression itself explains that the elevation of boiling point is depending directly on molality. Molality is nothing but amount of substance in a solvent. Amount of substance, when I say, it is number of particles. Final conclusion is elevation of boiling point is a colligative property because it is depending upon the number of particles. Okay, this is about the elevation of boiling point. We will now see the next concept. Before understanding that, I have to give explanation about this KB once. KB and its SI unit are also very important. Let me tell you, KB is ebullioscopic constant, and the ebullioscopic constant is defined using the very same equation. Delta TB is equal to KB into M, or KB is equal to delta TB by M. So when I make molality equal to 1, If this is equal to 1, then I could say Kb is elevation of boiling point of 1 molar solution. Very simple. So ebullioscopic constant is the elevation of boiling point produced when 1 mole of a solute is dissolved in 1 kg of solvent. Remember this definition, it's very simple. When we say 1 molar, it means 1 mole in 1 kg. This is the meaning. So use that in your sentence. Simple. Ebullioscopic constant or molar elevation constant is the elevation of boiling point produced when 1 mole of a non-volatile solute is dissolved in 1 kg of solvent. And substitute the units of these two. You will get to know what is the SI unit. SI unit of Kb is, see, delta TB is given as Kelvin. Molality is mole in 1 kg. Take it to the numerator, it becomes kg per mole. Mole per kg has become kg per mole in the numerator. So the SI unit of Kb or molar elevation constant is Kelvin kg per mole. You got to remember these points about elevation of boiling point. Now we will see what is depression of freezing point. Now let's see what is depression of freezing point. Freezing point is the temperature at which liquid is converted into solid state. There is a liquid and it will have a vapor pressure. If you decrease the temperature of the system, all that saturated vapors start condensing back into liquid state. At some point, there will be strong intermolecular force of attraction due to the reduced temperature, and that solvent in liquid state will freeze into a solid. That temperature at which when the solvent liquid is converted into solid, we call that temperature as freezing point. Let me indicate the solvent as, let us say, water, and it has a freezing point of 0 degree centigrade under normal conditions. If Tf0 is 0 degree centigrade and I add a little solute into this. Now since this solute particles distribute throughout this medium, in the solution the particles cannot form that strong hydrogen bonds as in the case of pure solvent. In pure solvent, H2O used to develop a strong hydrogen bonding when we decrease the temperature. But in case of solution, there are solute particles which restrict the formation of hydrogen bonding. When there is restriction of formation of hydrogen bonding, we need to cool the solution further to freeze it. Therefore, the freezing point will be less than 0 degree centigrade. There is a decrease in the freezing point, and that is now called as depression of freezing point. It was 0 degree centigrade, it has reduced to minus, negative temperature, which means there is a decrease in the freezing point. Why it decreased? Because the solute particles do not allow the formation of intermolecular forces of attraction strong. And this is the conclusion. Tf0 0 degree is greater than Tf minus 1. Therefore, delta Tf will be equal to Tf0 minus Tf. This is the mathematical representation of depression of freezing point. Now we will see the graphical representation of depression of freezing point. Now have a look at the graphical representation of depression of freezing point. There is vapor pressure along y-axis and temperature along x-axis, as in the case of elevation of boiling point. Now I have got two curves here. One is solvent curve, whose vapor pressure will be usually higher than solution, and this curve represents the freezing curve. It doesn't mean we will have a definite pressure at which liquid becomes a solid. Just like boiling point, we do not have that exactness in pressure. So solvent, its vapor pressure decreases continuously and touches this. Over this line, there will be freezing taking place of liquid into solid. So solvent touches this curve at one point, and if we calculate this temperature, it will be somewhere here. Let's call this as Tf0. And solution curve, being lower than solvent curve, reaches the freezing curve little bit later, and it represents the temperature Tf. So Tf0 is the freezing point of solvent, and Tf is the freezing point of solution, you can clearly see that there is a shift towards left, which means decrease of freezing point, and it is indicated as delta Tf. Delta Tf is the depression of freezing point. There is a decrease in the freezing point. Similar to this, I will write delta Tf is proportional to m. Once again, m is molality, 1 mole in 1 kg, and convert this into equation. Delta Tf is equal to, this time we call Kf into m. Earlier in boiling point, elevation of boiling point, we had Kb. Now it is Kf, and that Kf is called cryoscopic constant. Cryoscopic constant or molal depression constant. Kb was ebullioscopic constant or molal elevation constant. Kf is cryoscopic constant or molal depression constant. Now what is molal depression constant? I would say Kf is equal to delta Tf by m, and when this m is equal to 1, that is 1 mole in 1 kg, it is then the depression of freezing point. So definition is simple. Cryoscopic constant is the depression of freezing point of a solvent when 1 mole of a solute is dissolved in 1 kg of solvent. The molar depression constant or cryoscopic constant is the depression of freezing point produced when 1 mole of a solute is dissolved in 1 kg of solvent. This is the definition of cryoscopic constant. And the SI unit will be very same as Kb. Kf also has delta T in the numerator, so it must be Kelvin. And in the denominator there is molality, which is mole per kg. Take it to the numerator, becomes kg per mole. So the SI unit of Kf is also Kelvin kg per mole. Kelvin kg per mole. Okay. Now I will clear this cryoscopic constant detail, and we will reduce the equation to calculate molar mass of solute. How to calculate molar mass of solute using depression of freezing point? See, this is Kf. In place of m, I would write W2 into 1000 by m2 into W1, which is equal to delta Tf. So here we have the expression to calculate molar mass of a non-volatile solute. So these are the details about the depression of freezing point. Okay, before proceeding to the last colligative property, that is osmotic pressure, I want to make one small thing clear here. See, vapor pressure is inversely proportional to boiling point, but atmospheric pressure is directly proportional to boiling point. Sometimes we get confused when the pressure is greater, whether the boiling point is greater or lower. Please understand this, vapor pressure is of liquid. Okay, if that is greater, its boiling point will be reduced. Whereas if the atmospheric pressure is greater, the boiling point will increase. I would give you 1 or 2 examples here. If I compare petrol with water, water has a very high boiling point, 100 degrees centigrade. Anomalous properties of water we have seen in lower grades. 100 degrees centigrade is the boiling point of water because of the presence of strong intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Whereas such intermolecular force of attractions do not exist in petrol because the molecules are non-polar. Since in petrol molecules are non-polar, they are loosely bound to each other. So what happens to the evaporation? Evaporation will be more. When the evaporation is more, vapor pressure will be more. When vapor pressure is more, boiling point will be low. That's why petrol has lower boiling point compared to water. Coming to the next case, atmospheric pressure and boiling point. What happens at sea level? At sea level, water has 100 degrees centigrade boiling point. As you move higher and higher in altitudes, there will be increase, there will be actually decrease in the atmospheric pressure. As the atmospheric pressure decreases, the boiling point also decreases. Okay, at sea level it is 100 degrees centigrade. At higher altitudes, atmospheric pressure will be lower. When atmospheric pressures are lower, the boiling point also will be reduced. But Uh, One example I have to give. What happens inside the pressure cooker? What is the boiling point of water inside the pressure cooker? You can understand this point here. Pressure cooker. You are applying pressure. When you apply pressure, you are increasing the atmospheric pressure, not vapor pressure. Vapor pressure is of liquid. I'm telling you again and again. This belongs to liquid. Atmospheric pressure, you have control. You may close it. You may apply pressure externally. So when you increase the pressure, atmospheric pressure increases. And what happens to the boiling point? Certainly the boiling point will be greater than 100 degrees centigrade. So inside the pressure cooker, water boils at greater than 100 degrees centigrade. So these are the conclusions, and do not have confusion. Please have a look at it. Now let's see the fourth colligative property, that is osmotic pressure. Before understanding osmotic pressure, we must know what is osmosis. Try to recall. Osmosis is the movement of solvent molecules from a region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration through semi-permeable membrane. There is a semi-permeable membrane required through which only solvent molecules can pass through. Okay, semi-permeable membrane is a membrane through which only solvent molecules can pass through. Solutes do not pass through that semi-permeable membrane. That is the nature of semi-permeable membrane. We have so many natural semi-permeable membranes like cell walls, like animal bladder, likewise even the plant cells. Okay, there are synthetic semi-permeable membranes also, like copper ferrocyanide acts as a synthetic semi-permeable membrane. Copper ferrocyanide. Okay. There is a small demonstration here, which is the experiment usually will be done in high schools. There is a potato in which we have drilled a hole, and of course the skin is peeled off. Then this potato is placed in a small beaker containing a lower concentration solution. Usually we take water, and inside that drilled hole there is a higher concentration solution, which is usually sugar solution. So imagine there is a higher concentration solution inside the drilled hole, and outside there is water, and slowly over a small period of time there will be entry of these solvent molecules from lower concentration to higher concentration through the potato. And such a movement is called, such a diffusion of molecules is called osmosis. Now the point is, what is osmotic pressure? To understand that, please observe the demonstration once again. There is a movement of molecules from one region to another region through a semi-permeable membrane. There should be some driving force. There should be some driving force for these molecules to go there. To calculate that, you cannot have a device. You cannot fix a device inside this potato to measure what is the force of those molecules. Instead, you can go by the other method, that is the opposite method. What is it? Imagine if there is an arrangement like this. If there is an arrangement where I have got a piston arrangement to this drilled hole, and I have a measuring device to this, and I start applying pressure externally on the solution. Start applying pressure externally on the solution so that there is a driving force and a force above the solution which compensate at a certain point. There will be a pressure at which the osmosis stops, because you are opposing here. When you oppose, there will be movement which will be restricted. At a point, that movement stops. So an external pressure to be applied on the solution in order to stop osmosis is osmotic pressure. Because directly we cannot calculate, externally we apply pressure and compare it with the possible pressure. Okay, and that is osmotic pressure. Definition I just now said, I am repeating once again. Osmotic pressure is the external pressure to be applied on the solution. External pressure to be applied on the solution or higher concentration solution in order to stop osmosis. Now you may get a question. What if the osmosis has stopped and you continue to apply pressure? Externally you are continuing applying pressure. If you further increase the pressure, movement gets reversed. That means the molecules of higher concentration solution, solvent molecules, pass through the semi-permeable membrane to lower concentration because you are causing it externally. It is not a natural phenomena. It will be a non-spontaneous process where you need to apply extra pressure over the osmotic pressure to reverse the direction of osmosis, and that reversal of osmosis will be called RO, that is reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis. Okay, reverse osmosis is the technology being used in desalination of water, that is purification of water. From a higher concentration region to a lower concentration region, the water molecules are sent back by applying pressure through the semi-permeable membrane. That technique is called reverse osmosis. Anyway, the expression to calculate this osmotic pressure is based on Van't Hoff laws, that is given as pi is equal to CRT, similar to our ideal gas equation. Ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT. Similar to that expression we get here, pi, and C comes from the reciprocal of volume. Okay, 1 by V. So I'll replace this C also. I would get pi is equal to WRT by M into V. How did we get all these? Here we compare the dilute solution to which we are calculating osmotic pressure to a gas. It is compared to a gas. Like in case of ideal and non-ideal gases, for ideal gas we have seen the equation PV is equal to nRT based on the laws like Boyle's law, Chance law, Gay-Lussac's law. Likewise, Van't Hoff theory also assumes a dilute solution like a gas and apply all those Boyle's law, Chance law, etc. on the solution also to get this equation. And that gives you pi is equal to WRT by MV. Do not worry, bother about the derivation of this expression. Just remember how to calculate the pi. And pi, if we know, we can calculate molar mass. There is one very important point I must mention here, and that is osmotic pressure method is the best method to determine molecular masses of macromolecules. When I say macromolecules, that could be polymers, proteins, carbohydrate molecules, likewise, that is polysaccharides. Okay, so for macromolecules, to calculate their molecular mass, usually for polymers, to calculate their molecular mass, they make use of the osmotic pressure method. So this is the fourth colligative property, and we have seen all the four colligative properties from our previous video till now. Finally, we have one small concept, that is regarding Van't Hoff factor and numerical problems, that we will see in a coming video. Thank you for watching.